I was asked recently by one of my viewers to do a project using all carbides, and I got to be honest with you right here at the very start. I messed up and did the wrong project. This is going to be a goblet. Still a great project, and I'm glad I did it. I'm going to walk you through what I did all the way through, but this is not the project I intended to do. I'll be doing that project in the next day or two, and I'll get it out pretty soon after that as well. But anyway, let me walk you through this. This is a goblet. It's a piece of cherry that when I pulled it out of the pile, at first I thought it was cedar, but it's cherry. There's no question about it. In fact, it was a half log that I cut in half, and I realized as soon as the saw blade hit it that it was not cedar, but that it was cherry. Could smell that cherry smell very distinctly. Now here I'm just roughing using the Easy Wood rougher. Then I've switched over here to the mid-size finisher. I'm starting to do the cup. I've already turned a tenon. It's in the chuck there on the left side. On the right side is going to be the cup. And I'm just using this finisher, this mid-size finisher, to start rounding the cup. I'll use another tool. In fact, you see it there, the detail tool. Again, this is the mid-size detail. Does not have the real sharp point tip on it, but it's the rounded tip. But still, it's the diamond shape. This was one of the first detail cutters. It was the first detail cutter that came out. And so just doing some detail work there. Back to that mid-size finisher, that round carbide cutter on the front of it. And we're just getting the nub off the front end, and we're going to start hollowing out the cup here. It is cherry. It is a hardwood. This has been sitting in my shop for a good while, so it's pretty hard. But it smells great. It cuts nicely. In fact, you see some nice ribbons coming out. Even though this is a carbide, yes, I'm using it in scraper orientation. I've got it flat on the tool rest. It is parallel to the floor, going straight into the wood, and I'm still getting some nice ribbons. Still using that same mid-size finisher here. We're getting toward the bottom, and you may notice it's picked up a little bit of a wobble on the outside. A little earlier, I got a small catch and pulled it about halfway out of the chuck. It wasn't real exciting, but it knocked it way out of line. It took me a couple of minutes to get it pretty close. And this is as close as I was able to get it. Not a problem, because I still had lots of meat to it. So the inside is nice and smooth now. It's just about finished. And we'll smooth the outside when I get to it. I've switched over here to the full-size finisher. It's got just a little bit larger cutter on it, and so it smooths that inside out, where that other one had a little bit smaller cutter. Leaves a little bit of a ridge here and there, and so we got through it, and it's nice and smooth. We'll just make another cut or two here just to get a last ridge or two out of it. Then we're going to sand it, and we'll get on to finishing the inside before we go on to the outside. A little bit of sandpaper here. I go from 100 to 320. And then I will use my abrasive paste and my axe wax as well. Do a little bit by hand here, and then I'm going to bring the drill up, and we're going to use it just to knock out this inside. Get it done. Doing it by hand is working fine, but when I use the drill attachment, it works a whole lot faster and just gets the job done. Not sure I wasn't using some old sandpaper here. It wasn't cutting as fast as I was thinking it should have, but it was fast enough. We're going to switch right here. I'm getting my drill It lives kind of in the floor over to the side of my lathe there. So I'll have to blow it out quite often. But you can see that 2-inch pad goes in there very easily. And again, 100 up to 320, and it gives me a real nice smooth sanded surface. I won't show you all the steps, but just enough so you see that I am working it. Little sanding sealer there. I just let it continue to run. That helps it to dry as well. I'm going to take a paper towel and wipe out the excess. Then we're going to get another paper towel, my Axe abrasive paste, and we're going to give it the working over with this abrasive paste. This will take it through from the 320 that I sanded to up to right around a 1000 grit finish, and so it will be pretty smooth. Then when the wax goes on it, it gives me a nice, not a high gloss shine, but a nice satin finish. What wax is supposed to do. I'll put this abrasive paste on fairly liberally, and then we'll begin to work it under power from about 300, and we'll work that for a couple of moments. Then we'll raise the speed up a time or two, and then we'll start moving on to the cleaner parts of the paper towel as we raise the speed up more and more. Finally ended up at about 1200, I believe, 12 or 1400 RPMs. And as soon as the towel comes off the piece clean, we know that the abrasive paste has done its job, and it's doesn't need to be worked any longer. So it doesn't take too long. Then we'll bring out the wax. This is a carnauba-based wax, and so again, I will put it on rather sparingly, actually. It's just kind of a thin coat. If I don't like the shine, I can always put more on. Putting more on in the very beginning does not help. Just end up wasting wax. But I put it on. I give it just a few minutes to kind of gas off a bit, and then we will buff it out at high speed. At first, very light pressure, just basically letting the paper towel do the work. And then I apply more and more pressure. Once the excess has been drug off and I'm starting to get a shine, I want it to heat up a bit. So all of that is done. We've put a piece of cloth on the inside and a soft touch on the end of the live center, and brought that live center in just to give some support. And now we're going to use between the mid-size finisher and the detailer, and I'm going to go back to the rougher a time or two. We're going to work at getting some of this excess wood off the stem and the base, as well as put some detail both at the bottom of the cup, at the top of the base, and well, we'll tell you about the stem when we get there. I believe this is the detail tool I'm using here, just kind of getting some work done here. A little working toward the detail that I'm trying to get at the base of the cup, the very top of the stem. Don't really like for the stem just to fade into the cup. I like to have some kind of a detail that separates it out. And you'll see I change a time or two. I do actually bring up the number 1 hollower for a few minutes and do some work with it, because it's an even smaller cutter. It's another round cutter, but it's a very small one. So you can get in and do some fairly small work with it. Yeah, this is the detail tool. I've got something in mind, but what I had in mind really didn't work. So here I brought the rougher back out, just wasting away some of that wood that is around what will be the stem. getting it down to a workable size. One of the nice things about the Easy Wood tools, you, it, you don't have to worry about your angle of attack so much. You just keep everything flat and parallel. It's a lot of fun. They do a great job. You know, you use them till they're dull, then you turn them 90 degrees and go at it again. When you've gone all the way around that cutter, used all sides of it, then you replace it. It's as simple as that. There are people who try to sharpen them up a little bit. You can make them less dull. Let me say it that way. That's the way Easy Wood says it as well. It's there. You can't get them back to factory sharp. You just can't do it at home. But you can take them and lay them top side down on a diamond hone and just rub them around. Put a little honing oil on there or a honing fluid, and you can get them a good bit sharper and use them a little longer than just the one time around. But they're not quite as sharp as they were when they came from the factory. I've got to get some more. In fact, I've got a lot of mine have been replaced recently, but some of them have gotten pretty dull pretty quick, and that's my fault, I think, using them on some rough old wood. So anyway, we got this mid-size finisher here, just trying to clean up the top of this stem. You see a little bulge there in the middle. It's not just a straight stem. I like to have some flow, some ebb and flow. So I've got two coves with a sort of a bead in the center. And I was trying to do kind of a bird's beak top and bottom of the stem, but that just didn't work out. The wood did not hold that detail like I wanted to. So I'm going to do a couple little coves here, one at the top, one at the bottom. This is that number 1 hollower, and it really is a great tool, especially for doing hollowing. It's a small cutter, and because it's small, it's able to just really get in there and eat some wood up. I really like this tool. Doing a little final forming, and we're in great shape here. Doing some sanding. $100 to $320. That's kind of my routine here lately. I'm about to change. I'm running out of sandpaper in this white rhino that I've been using for quite a while, and so I've bought some. I bought 4 packs of some sandpaper that I'm going to try out. Hopefully, it's going to work out real nicely. It's a little bit more expensive than what I've been using, but it's not so bad. So still affordable, and I've had some folks tell me it's just the best paper they've ever used. So we'll see. I don't know. Brought the full-size rougher back in, wasting away some of this wood at the base. I don't need all of that. And you can see I'm thinning it down, getting some of the waste wood, getting ready to undercut it. I want my base to be undercut so it sits on the outer rim of the base when it sits on a table or a counter, wherever you set it down. And that way it won't be rock. It won't rock and won't tend to be tippy if someone tries to or decides they want to use it, which is fine. So I've gotten that started. I'm putting on. I've got it all sanded to 320, and I'm putting on a coat of Parfex 3408. This is a high grade, commercial grade, super glue kind of material. Very pure, very good. It's a lot thinner than most thin CA glues out there. And so, excuse me, it penetrates into the wood very, very well. So I will put a coat of this on. It's also got a delay in drying. And so I can put it on And then I'll come back and wipe off the excess, and all before it dries. I've got about 40 seconds or so from application to dry, or to touch dry. It doesn't cure for like 24 hours. So up at the top, it just felt like it needed a little more, so I put a little bit more on there. And I've wiped it here, or am wiping it here. But I don't want to wait the 24 hours for it to cure before I buff it up. And so I'm going to put a spray of accelerator on it. And I gave it 4 or 5 minutes. I didn't make you wait for that. But then I can go ahead and put my abrasive paste on. And this is going to begin the polishing process of the CA on top of the wood surface. That CA, the Parfix, sealed the wood. It penetrates it, really makes it pretty solid. It's a homogeneous surface across here that we're working with. So we're just going to clarify this and just make it ready for a wax finish here in just a moment. Won't take long. We will go through the same process. We've put the abrasive paste on. We started at about 300, and I'm going to work my way up probably to about 600 with the same part of the paper towel that I applied it with. But then I'll start going to a clean section of the paper towel, and I turn my speed up every time I do that. As soon as it comes off clean, about 12 or 1400 RPMs, then as I'm doing here, I'll put the wax on. We'll give the wax a few minutes to off gas, and then we will buff it up. While I'm doing this, let me just say thanks for watching the video with me. It's been a good time. I will be doing a vase here in just another day or two. Same kind of process, but it is a little different project than a goblet is. But anyway, what I wanted to say was, or ask you, was if you would please hit that like button if you've enjoyed it at all. If you haven't already, if you'd go over and hit the subscribe button, I'd appreciate that as well. Those are great things, and if you really want to help the channel, share it out. Put the link, hit the button, the share button, copy the link, and put it on your social media pages. I would greatly appreciate it. Well, here I'm just using that mid-size finisher. I'm cutting a big cove, kind of undercutting that foot, as well as making that underneath part smaller and smaller. I'll get down to a point that I will bring back that detail tool, and I'll work that detail tool down to a pretty small nub. You'll see that here in just a minute. You can see I've worked it down pretty small, and there's that detail tool. I'm just working it down even smaller, especially the center part right in the middle of that base. I want to make sure I get it real small, then I can just kind of snap it off without worrying about it damaging the goblet at all. It looks like that's probably just about it. We'll turn the lathe off. We'll back the live center out. You can see I've got a soft touch on my live center. I do have a couple of t-shirt pieces inside of there, just kind of padding that soft touch. Then I'll get it lined up so that I'm going straight across the grain, and we'll snap it right off. Dink, dink. Here it is. It's clean. It leaves a little nub on the bottom, so I put the sanding mandrel in the lathe, and we're using that, again, 100 up to 320, so I can get that nice smooth bottom, and then I'll engrave it once all that sanding is done. Be sure to stick around and see the stills at the end. I thank you so much for joining me. This is Doug at Wood Spun Round. Until we get to meet again, I hope you're able to spin them around.